Welcome to the Songwriter Connection, the podcast that delves deep into the art and heart of songwriting. Each week, we gather around the dining room table to uncover the stories behind the songs. We invite you to join us on a journey to the creative minds of the songwriters who shape the melodies of our lives. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenahan.
We've got quite an amazing story to share with you and journey. And we're going to talk about perhaps the best band, certainly in my mind. We're going to do a lot of Beatles talking today. And we've got three wonderful guests. And I want to tell you how I met them first. I played a little thing with my friends Lacey and Shane at Natchez Hills Winery. And that's at Andrew Jackson's Hermitage, which, by the way, if you're visiting Nashville, that's a really cool place to go. Lots of history there. President Jackson, his place was called the Hermitage. And they've got this little winery in there. You can stop in and listen to some music. So we're playing our music, and these three wonderful people come in, and I didn't know that they were very talented musicians and singers, and we invited them up on the stage, and they sang and just blew us away. Got to know their story a little bit, and I just had to invite them in because what they're doing is truly remarkable. I want to introduce you to them. We're going to talk about the Four Lads from Liverpool, which is an amazing show coming to the Franklin Theatre on August 14th, right? And we are going to, and we're airing this like the Wednesday after we record it. We're doing this on a Sunday, a sunny, hot Sunday here in Nashville. So let me go around the dining room table and introduce you all my guests. We've got the lovely Donna McManus. How are you, Donna?
I'm doing great. How are you?
She's an amazing singer and artist, and you sing with Ray Stevens a lot, right?
I do.
Right.
Yes, at his CabaRay showroom in Nashville.
Yep, which will be opening again in August, I understand.
Yes.
Yeah, he was down for a little bit with a heart attack, right? But he's doing better.
Yes. Oh, he's doing great from what I understand. Yes.
And you sang with him in Branson, too?
I did. He had his theater in Branson, and I sang with him for 2 years there. Mm-hmm. He sold the theater, came back to Nashville, and so I just kind of went on and sang at other theaters in Branson. And I saw on Facebook that he was building the CabaRay showroom, so I got in touch with him and asked him if he was looking for another girl singer. And he said, well, actually, I am. So
well, there you go.
Yeah, so here I am.
That's a very cool place. Very nice.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And right across the table from me is Pat McManus, who's an amazing songwriter. You've written songs for the Oak Ridge Boys like My Baby's American Made.
Yes.
Reba's Little Rock. Yes. We could do a whole show on you. You have to come back.
We're not going to do that. Between that and what Mike and I have been through for years, we'd be talking for a couple, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours.
And I'd want to hear it all. I really would.
Yeah. We'll do it again.
Yeah. And let's introduce Mike Stewart. Now, Mike let me try to get this all in here, and you correct me anyway. An entrepreneur.
Yes.
A marketer.
Yes.
And consultant.
Yes.
Multi-instrumentalist.
Yes. Studio
owner.
Not
anymore.
Just for me. Just for my own projects. But yes, for 30 years I owned a studio in Atlanta.
From Atlanta. Wanted to say that songwriter, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And you had this amazing idea that we're going to talk about today. And I think that's where I want to... but I also wanted to mention you had a big hit.
I was in a band. I didn't write the song. I don't want to take credit for that. But I was in a band called Buckner Garcia. We had a #1 record called Pac-Man Fever in 1982.
And I remember because I was addicted to Pac-Man.
Oh, weren't we all? So
a lot of people were.
We had a great manager who licensed the sounds from all the video games. And
that's awesome.
And the kids that bought that record are now in their 50s, and they still remember it.
Absolutely. I do. And then you play in a lot of bands, tribute bands and things, and you also I'm playing the Box Tops, right?
I'm a current keyboard player for the Box Tops. Gary Talley, who was
Gary.
Yes, Gary was a founding member of the Box Tops, been a friend of mine. He was in Atlanta at the time in '76,
right?
When I met him. And in fact, Gary plays all the guitar. He's one of the guitarists in the Four Lads show. So
amazing guitar player.
So basically, you're getting a little bit of Box Tops Memphis soul in this show.
That's so cool.
And
really,
but at the end of the day, the Atlanta connections. There's a lot of Atlanta connections with the
Atlanta
Beatles.
Rhythm Section.
Atlanta Rhythm Section. A gentleman there, in fact, that Ray Stevens got his start with, named Bill Lowry.
Oh, Bill Lowry.
Bill was a mentor and a customer and a friend and supported. I mean, he was Mr. Atlanta music. So if it came out of Atlanta, Bill Lowry was probably involved.
I'll be darned.
And that's where I got my start in my 20s. And but years later, actually working with Ray Stevens, Ray said, "If you want to build relationships in Nashville, boy, you got to move here." And I told my wife, I said, "We need to downsize." Pat used to come to my lake house on Lake Lanier in Atlanta, and that's where we wrote a lot of the music that we did before Four Lads.
Started on the pontoon boat.
We
Ooh, cool place
Actually,
to write.
it started in my bedroom when I was writing the one chorus, and then we brought it out and started working on the pontoon boat.
But Pat and I met in '78.
Did you? Okay.
And I was starting a jingle business, and Pat was one of my main singers. He used to go stand in the bathroom and sing jingles for me.
Yeah, you get the sound like a little bit like you get right here. You know, you just that was our echo chamber.
LV. So, any jingles that we might have heard?
We did a lot of Ford. Probably my most famous stuff is I did all the Waffle House records.
Oh, did you? Okay. I love
So
the Waffle House.
if you go to this day and go to the Waffle House jukeboxes, we've got over 40 songs that we did for Waffle House. They were a client, but we did a lot for Coca-Cola, Home Depot, all Georgia-based, Georgia Pacific, Chick-fil-A, you name it. If it was a corporate, we did corporate music mostly.
Awesome.
But I had a big background in advertising music, and then in around 2000, I got into the internet. But Pat and I remain. In fact, when we were doing jingles back in Atlanta, I was doing demos for Pat to help, and
for the songs.
Well, one of them demo that we did with Mike and Danny in Atlanta ended up being a big hit by Jim Glazer called "When You're Not a Lady."
Wow!
And the demo was the demo that we did was the demo that Jim heard to want to cut the song. Wow. And it's funny because I started jingles, and then when I came to Nashville, I was in Atlanta there obviously for a little while. I started singing jingles for Ron Chancey. I did, like he was talking about, I did Chevy Truck, I did McDonald's, I did all these, and that's what kept me alive before the royalties started coming in. Yeah. Wow. And so doing that down there kind of got me used to being in the studio. And I did a few for NBC down there for another studio.
Did you really?
He'd go in vocal booths up here and he'd say, "Where's the commode?" I'm used to, I'm used to seeing a commode. In
well,
the
that and a linen closet. That was the two places we did in Atlanta. So
they always had the best sounds. I mean,
yeah.
Hey, we were.
See, that's why I went right to the restroom when I got here. I was looking for the microphone.
But huge history, advertising, marketing, music. All I ever wanted to do was be able to create music and take care of my family. That's all. That was my goal. It wasn't about, I want to be a star. I wanted to be able to create things that I enjoyed creating and getting paid. And I did that since I was 20 years old.
That's awesome. That's success. We talk about defining your own success. That's success right there.
And we've remained friends ever since. What was it, 81, 82 that you moved to Nashville?
1980.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost Pat, but we always stayed in touch.
We stayed in touch. You came up here and wrote with me.
Yeah.
And it was good that we stayed in touch because then when he moved here again, then we were getting ready to come down here unbeknownst to us because of Ray Stevens.
Gotcha.
With Donna. And
where'd you and Donna meet?
We met in Branson.
In Branson?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a long story, but 25 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I heard her sing. Go ahead, Donna.
Well, he actually had come to Branson. The Oak Ridge Boys were performing in Branson at the Grand Palace.
Okay.
And the girl that was the marketing director for the theater there, Tracy Gideon, she was a friend of mine. We had known each other for a long time. And she and Pat got to know one another because of him being there with Oak Ridge Boys. And so we had gone to a little show. Ed McMahon was opening up a show. It was called American Kids or something like that.
Okay.
And he was there. And so Tracy asked me and this other guy that we were doing a show. It was called Cracklin' Rose. It was a tribute to Neil Diamond.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she wanted us to be there. And so she was going to be there as well, but her car broke down. So she called Pat and asked him to give her a ride. So I was letting her know when I saw her, hey, I'm here. My parents are visiting. We're going on the Branson Bell, so I'm going to only stay for so long. And Patrick walked up. And so she introduced him and said, he's a Nashville songwriter. So I was like, my ears perked up. Ooh, a connection.
It was all about the music.
Yeah, it was all about the music at first. So I asked him if he knew a few people that I knew here. And and then, of course, my mother, have you heard her sing? And so he said, no, I haven't seen the show yet. And so Tracy said, you really need to see it. So the next day he came to see Cracklin' Rose. It was a matinee. And we opened up the show, of course, with the song Cracklin' Rose. And not even halfway into the song, I see him get up and start walking out. And I think, that's such a typical Nashville person, not wanting to stay. And he probably thinks we're, crap or something. I don't know. But then he came back. So I was like, okay, he's redeemed himself.
Had to visit the bathroom again, right?
No, he had a phone call. He had a phone call.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So at intermission, he ran into my father. So second half opens up, curtains open up, and I look over to the side, and Patrick's not there. And I happen to look, and I see my mom and dad, and Patrick is sandwiched in between my mom and dad.
That's hilarious.
But already met the parents,
Parents.
She'd already invited me to dinner with them and everything, and Donna had no clue about any of that.
No, I didn't.
Needless to say, though,
But my favorite part, I have to tell this. Yeah. After we had dinner together, Patrick said, well, I'm going to go visit a friend, that owns another theater here. And I had an 8 o'clock show that night. So during the second half, I sang You Don't Bring Me Flowers with the guy that did the Neil Diamond. And so I was in the green room because I wasn't on stage at the time. And I see this guy walk by, and he backs up and sticks his head into the green room, and it's Patrick. And I said, hey, what are you doing here? And he said, I came back to hear you sing. So it's like, okay, you got me.
And
the rest? The rest is history. We just started hanging out. We
were inseparable.
We were inseparable.
Yeah. That's awesome. We have that same love of music, I think.
Yeah.
24 years ago.
And what's wonderful is this show, Four Lads From Liverpool, is the first time that Donna and I have sung together.
Yes.
Is it really?
Yes,
it's
it is.
the first time we've done anything together.
Pretty amazing.
The winery, and then, of course, this show will be the only times, because what Mike and I put together, what Mike put together with the trio, and we love it. We absolutely love it.
Well, let's talk about the history of this great show, Mike. I'm going to take you back BC before COVID, and you saw. Did you see Hamilton? Or you?
There was a documentary, I think, on Netflix. That was about Lin-Manuel.
Yeah.
And he was just talking about how he'd read the biography on vacation of Alexander Hamilton. And it's just, it was just a history book, a current history book. And he was fascinated with the story. And he thought, that would make an amazing stage play or musical.
Right.
And he says, the music I love is rap and hip hop. So I'm going to start building a rap about Alexander Hamilton. And of course, in fact, on YouTube, it's a great history lesson about what he did. He'd already been successful on Broadway at the time.
Yeah.
And he did a thing at the White House where he introduced his idea, and everybody in the audience laughed. He says, I'm going to create a history of Alexander Hamilton in hip hop. And everybody laughed. But I thought, now we know it's the biggest musical of all time.
Right.
So just because people laughed, he ignored what was inspiring about this documentary. It took him 8 years from the concept, I want to do this, till he finished. And then actually performed it the very first time. And I thought, well, I am a Beatle nerd. I just anything Beatles, I love it. I love the history. I've watched every documentary. I've read every book.
Yep. Sat through all of Get Back, right?
Oh, I've seen it 4 times.
4 times.
You know, all 8 hours. So it's 32 hours of my life on Get Back.
You won't get back.
But I just love it. I love what they created. I love the music. I love the history. I love their story. The positive sides of it. There's some negative stuff, and we don't really focus on that.
No.
And I told Pat, I said, here's something I want to do. Just a bucket list thing. I said, if Lin-Manuel can write the history of a founding father who owned slaves and use African American and Latino people to be the actors and do it in rap music and is successful, people, Beatle nuts, I'll call me and you a Beatle nut. We love the history of the Beatles. Nobody has ever written the history of the Beatles in songs that sound like Beatles songs, but are original songs. Mm-hmm. And I said, I know the history. And I said, I can't write this thing by myself. One, I'm not the lyricist. He's a master lyricist, hit songwriting lyricist, always has been. Yeah. I'm good at analyzing the music and the production and the elements. And I think I'm pretty good melodically.
Oh yeah,
and I'm okay.
That's a fun thing. We'll talk about a little bit about how we wrote some of these songs.
You know, I know the intricacies of the Beatle melodies and their intervals and all the mechanics of it. I said, so I'm going to take those mechanics, which are, it's like a box of colors. I'm just going to take Beatle colors and build our own songs.
Oh yeah.
But instead of the songs, anybody can say, let's build a Beatle tribute band. We'll learn a Beatle catalog set list, and we'll dress like them, and we'll show pictures of them behind us, and we'll be a Beatles tribute. And those things are successful.
Then there's a few of them that do that. Yeah.
And there's some I've seen some that are amazing.
There was an all-girl band here.
Yeah, here in Nashville, Penny Lane. I've met
Penny
them.
Lane, yeah.
Yeah, they're excellent. The Beatle nerd in me, I go to Abbey Road on the River Festival every year.
Wow.
Just to hear and see what people are doing.
I heard there's 2,500 of them that they know of that are listed as Beatle tribute bands.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's probably more than that.
And of course, I see. We get around the hotels at around midnight till 4 in the morning. And people will sit around and sing, Beatle nuts will sit around and sing Beatle songs. And at 4 o'clock, you people, I'm going to bed. I love them too, but you're nuts.
I've got to sleep sometime.
Yeah. I got videos of that I'll have to show you.
Oh,
so anyway,
that's awesome.
It took 30 seconds to tell Pat, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And it was right before COVID that we had that conversation. Mm-hmm. And what we would do is we would get together any way we could all through COVID. And we would go to lunch 6 feet apart. I'd tell him the history, the story, and we turned it into lyrics. And then we said, okay, how are we going to do the show? And it's taken since 2022 or 2020, I guess.
Yeah. The very beginning, though, was really a lot of fun. He came to me and he said, I got this idea. And he said, I've been going around with it in my head. And he said, I want to write this thing, and I think it's going to be called Four Lads from Liverpool. And I said, about the Beatles. And he said, yeah. He said, but we're going to write the history of the Beatles with narration and then song. And I said, I love that. And I said, I guess Four Lads from Liverpool would be the theme song. So that kind of stuck with me for a day or so. And I got home, and one morning, Donna was still asleep. I got up and went into another bedroom, and he has a tape of it that's kind of ridiculous. But I was trying to be quiet because Donna was sleeping, and I wrote the whole chorus, Four Lads from Liverpool. I wrote the whole little chorus, and I called Mike and I said, I got it, I'm in. 100% I'm in on this show. Wow. And from then on, then we got together and we wrote everywhere we could, and then COVID hit, and we figured we're going to figure this out that we can get together even during that.
Yeah. Zoom it and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just try to get together.
Just any way we could.
Yeah.
And
we're on lockdown anyway. You might have used the time to write, right?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got together quite a bit during that time. We just stayed away from each other, which, 6 feet or whatever it was.
Once again, it's ideas are great and they're quick. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But the point being is finishing it. Yeah. And so then we finished it. And at first, I don't know if you remember this, Pat, we were thinking, Hamilton is a play. We need to write, dance. I didn't know what. Are we going to have actors? And and they sing it from the stage with acting? And I thought it through. Why don't we make it a hybrid tribute? Because one, it's easier to travel. You don't have to have sets. It's just multimedia, video, and a live band. And we're wearing the T-shirt. Here's the dress of the band.
Really cool.
In fact, the band's name is 10 Matthew Street Band.
10 Matthew Street.
The 10 Matthew Street Band, yeah.
Do you know why? You being a Beatle nerd, here's a trick.
I can't even.
That's the address of the Cavern Club.
Is it really?
Well,
Okay.
and you two Beatle guys will get this. I did the research, and I thought, Mike, I kept telling Mike, we got to have a band name that we're the band that's presenting Four Lads from Liverpool. We just have to have a band name. And so I started looking at, I like things like that. We have another show called Bobby Buick and the Accelerators. So I like things that kind of are...
I like AMBA names.
Yes,
I
I love it. So anyway, I was looking at the I looked up, for some reason, I looked up famous streets in Liverpool or in London, wherever. Yeah. And then I found out that 10 Matthew Street was where the Cavern Club was.
That is a great
And I thought, we are the 10 Matthew Street Band.
Wow, I love it.
Hey, you got an E Street band. We're the 10 Matthew Street.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Well, let's play. I want to play. Let's play the Four Lads song, okay?
That'd be great.
And the way you've done this has got a little history on the front and the song.
Okay, well, let me preface it with this.
Please do.
Beatle fans may know some of the history, and they may not know all the history. Mm-hmm. So we decided, rather than having actors acting out the history, we thought, at one point we thought about having a guy on stage, and we may do that someday, narrating it live.
Got it.
But what we did was we wrote the history for every song.
Every section.
Mm-hmm. Every song has the history, which then, and I'll give you a great example. In the first line of Four Lads from Liverpool, the 57 Fate. Okay. Do you know what that is?
Year I was born. I don't know.
Okay. England is very common. Fate is short for festival. So John and Paul met at a church festival. But in England, they call them a fete, F-E-T-E. So if you go at the 57 Fate, Americans don't know what that is. But we explain that, these British, what do you call it?
Narrators.
Just things that they say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so with that narration, it clarifies the lyrics, because we wouldn't want to say in the song at the 1957 church festival. That wasn't very lyrical.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit the times.
And it's not the history. Yeah. So every song we wrote the history that makes clarity to the lyrics of the song.
I can't imagine the research it took.
There's this thing called the internet.
Thank God for that.
And Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And it's public knowledge. It's in fact, there's a great website, the Beatles Bible. If you've never seen that, that is so. Awesome. I mean, it's just an amazing collection of the history. And of course, if you watch, all the documentaries out there that have been produced, the history is pretty evident to the people who love it.
Right.
So that's why if you play the song, it opens with history and then the song plays.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Upon entering the fourth decade of the 20th century, it was a dark and mournful time in the US, UK, and really the whole world. Americans were reeling from the devastation of the Great Depression. The United Kingdom called it the Great Slump. But Germany was doing so bad, they allowed a dictator to come to power. He was attacking westward with a strong force with his sights at that time on the British Isles. Liverpool was a ship port vital to the mainland. And why with London, Hitler was bombing from the air relentlessly. 4 Liverpool families brought children into the world during the chaos. The Lennons, McCartneys, Harrisons and Starkeys had newborns from 1940 to 1943. Even though the times were hell, these 4 babes would become the lads to change the world with their music. Here's their story with new songs that celebrate their music, life and legacy. Presenting the musical biography, Four Lads from Liverpool.
At the 57 Fate, rock and roll forever changed. 20 flight rock, Paul would play. Destiny would light their way. John John said, would you join me, band? And we think Paul shook his hand. Four lads from Liverpool, about to change the world. Four lads from Liverpool, let me do screaming girls. And this phenomenon would grow from Heathrow to the Sullivan Show. Four lads from Liverpool, about to change the world. John, Paul, George, Stewart and Pete, history was not complete. From Germany to the London streets, that's where George Martin and the boys would meet. And sadly, a member was replaced, but say hello to Ringo's face. Four lads from Liverpool, about to change the world. Four lads from Liverpool, let me do screaming girls. And this phenomenon would grow from Heathrow to the Sullivan Show. Four lads from Liverpool, about to change the world. And this phenomenon would grow from Heathrow to the Sullivan Show. Four lads from Liverpool, about to change the world. Four lads from Liverpool, about to change the world. About to change the world.
We're talking about Four Lads from Liverpool, which is an amazing show, which will debut here on August 14th at the Franklin Theatre here just south of Nashville. And it's a great place to see a show, and it is going to be a remarkable, remarkable show. Now, the song we just heard, that's you're singing, Pat, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you both wrote this together. All three, you write this together?
No, Mike and I wrote everything on
You wrote everything.
on the show. Yeah.
Okay.
Donna got involved when we started doing rehearsals. We thought that we'd like to have her voice in the harmonies. And when we were out at the drummer's house doing rehearsals, she started singing and kind of singing along with one of the songs. And I turned to Mike and I said,
Hey.
we got to have her sing some of the lead songs in this show. And by coincidence, the guy that put the demos down that we originally did, some of them were in a perfect key for her to sing.
Wow.
So that's how we got Donna involved in following us around and joining the band, so to speak.
That's so cool. As a matter of fact, the next song we're going to play is Donna on the lead vocals. Right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Well, tell us real quick about this one.
Well, in the history of the Beatles, when they weren't famous, they were a five-piece band. It was Stewart, Sutcliffe, and...
Was this the Quarrymen then, or after that?
Well, it was the Silver Beatles.
Beatles.
They were Johnny and the Moondogs. They were the Quarrymen. Quarrymen, Johnny and the Moondogs, and then they became the Silver Beatles, and then the Silver dropped. And of course they played gigs. This was before Ringo, and they had a really beat up old van with no heat, and they played gigs for low money, and they traveled all over England, and they didn't have seats in the van. They were sitting on their equipment.
No kidding.
And even though they were young and having fun and playing rock and roll, they get depressed. And John Lennon had a saying, and to get undepressed, they'd go, "Where are we going, Johnny?" And he'd go, to the toppermost of the poppermost. And that's where we're going, lads. Which, John always believed. If you talk about somebody who was making positive affirmations, he used to say we're the world's greatest rock and roll band before anybody knew them.
Yeah, that's
and so they go, where are we going, Johnny? And he go, to the toppermost of the poppermost. Yeah, that's right. And that seemed to cheer them up when they were depressed. And so this song is about the fact that John was the motivating positive factor. And so we just talk about that. But, they were playing, they didn't have a manager. They didn't have a booking agent. They were probably playing for a little nothing, barely getting by. Mm-hmm. But they believed in what they were doing.
Yeah, you gotta believe in what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So here's Donna singing. Toppermost to the poppermost. Fantastic. Great job, Donna. We're going to take a little break. We're talking about Four Lads from Liverpool, and we'll be back with Pat, with Donna, and Mike. Don't go away.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection with Dave Linehan. Find us on Facebook and YouTube at the Songwriter Connection Podcast, and find Dave at thedaveconnection.com. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
This time we'll remind you that if you're listening on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe. Yeah, I know we're not a video podcast. I'm a radio guy. I've got a face for radio. But we put it on YouTube anyway because you got to be there today, right? Mike, that's like the second largest search engine in the world.
Absolutely. It's owned by Google, and people forget that it's a search engine. People looking for information.
Oh, yeah. And my host, which is Red Circle, by the way, they put it up there for me every week. So the little slide, great. So we're there. Hit like and subscribe, because that does help us more than you'll ever know. And also, I want to also tell you that we have this playlist on Spotify called Songwriter Connection, The Songs. And every week when we publish on Wednesday, I always add a few songs from the episode that we just did. So look for it there, okay? And I hope that you'll do that. We're back with Mike Stewart and Pat McManus and Donna McManus, and we're talking about this new project I'm so excited about, Four Lads From Liverpool. What a passion, Mike, huh? To mix what you love to do with your passion, I think that's the thing, right?
Oh, most definitely. I was there February 9th.
I was going to ask.
At 8 p.m. I remember my dad saying, there's some band from England going to be on. Because as a family, back in those days, 8 o'clock Sunday night, come in from playing outside because the family's getting together to watch the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh, that's
You never knew who Ed was going to have.
You never did.
And Daddy says, tonight's some band from England I think you're going to want to see. And I remember it. I mean, I thought, oh my gosh, look at them. Listen
we were
to them.
all there, glued to the TV.
Glued to the TV.
We were.
And I saw that left-handed bass guitar. I said, what is that thing?
Yeah, Hoffner.
Golly.
Yeah.
And as I bought the records and listened to the records, I wanted to know more about it. And then I learned that it was a Hofner Beatle bass. Mm-hmm. And I was in bands at the time. One of the I won't call it irony, but one of the fun things was at the time, this was 3 years later that I was in a band, we were playing box top songs there in Bristol, Tennessee. And who would think 50 years later I'd be playing the same songs, but with the original guys.
But with the original guys, yeah.
But we did the letter and on those Neon Rainbow and those things. But we played Beatles songs, and I remember the money I made from playing. We played the Supper Club in Bristol. I'll never forget the Pyrenees Supper Club. I made $30 a night as a kid. That's big dough in '67.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
And I saved up $356 and bought that Hofner bass in 1960.
Really?
In 1967.
Wow.
And
still have it today? You still have it today?
That's the one we use with the show, and in fact, the show inspired a new trio. We'll have to tell you about. WeAreJustChillin.com.
Just chillin'.
But long sort of it is if Paul did it, I wanted to know how it was done. Mm-hmm. If he played it, I'm going to learn it. If he wrote it, I want to understand it. Yeah. If he owned the instrument, I'm going to get one.
Yeah.
Whatever they did, I emulated because I loved it. And, here it is 50 years later. I'm still doing it.
There you go. Gotta love it. On this podcast, if you look in the archives, Kent Blasey has been on the show a few times.
Right,
Kent has an album out called February 9th, 1964. And it's all, his tribute to the Beatles. Oh, wow. It's just fantastic. And what we talked about was how important in history that specific date is. And if you think about it, folks, this is just months after Kennedy was assassinated.
Right.
The whole country was in a down mood. We did, we were trying to live again. And then comes these Four Lads.
Really lifted everybody.
Lifted us back up. I can remember as a kid sitting around my grandmother's dining room table in Buffalo, New York. I was born in Buffalo, and we lived in Cleveland. And I remember my grandfather sitting there with a Camel cigarette in the ashtray, reading the Buffalo Evening News and starting to laugh. Look at this, Davy. Look at these long hairs right here. They're called the Beatles. They're going to be on, and he's just laughing because of that long hair, Wow. And if you look at it now today, it's like, really, it wasn't really long.
No, it wasn't.
Just mop top, right? Yeah. But they changed the world, didn't they? And it's so hard to imagine looking back at it. It was only about a 10-year period, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah,
it was short.
Their fame was not that long because they were 63 to 70.
Yes,
7 years that they were the Beatles. They were the Beatles 3 or 4 years prior to that, but they were hungry, depressed. So that doesn't really count.
Yeah, hungry, depressed. Yeah,
but "Love Me Do" was December of '62.
Okay,
and then January of '63. Please, Please Me was in fact, when they came into the studio, John was a big fan of Roy Orbison.
Oh, yeah.
And so Please, Please Me was a slow song. Come on, come on,
I can't even imagine.
And George Harrison said it needs to be up. It needs to be. So they sped it up. And that's when George said, "You've cut your first number one record." And the brilliance of George Martin, hopefully, is not overlooked. He really was amazing genius. Yeah. And so, by February and March of that year, they had a number one record in England, but nobody in America knew who they were. And when I moved to Atlanta in '76, in 1980, I was a session player for Bill Lowry, and one of his artists. At the time is an old gentleman named Tommy Rowe.
Oh my!
Yeah, and
Dizzy, my head is
Dizzy, but it's Sheila, Sweet Little Sheila, the folk singer. So, in March of '63, prior to the Kennedy assassination, Tommy and Chris Montez, who had Let's Dance, yes, they toured England the month of March of '63. They were the headliners. They had the number one records.
There's a piece of trivia for you folks.
Okay, the folk singer was number one in England. Let's Dance was like in the top 10, and the Beatles were in the top 10.
Okay.
So back in those days, they put them on a bus and they're traveling all over England playing these gigs. Well, Tommy, he's supposed to be the headliner, so the Beatles are the opening act. Well, they'd play their set and they'd boo the headliners because the kids wanted to hear the Beatles more. The Beatlemania had already really taken off in England.
Wow.
And Tommy said, I'm not following you guys anymore. And because Tommy and I became dear friends, I did a session because of Bill Lowry, and I met Tommy, and we've been friends.
Friends ever since.
Ever since.
Yeah.
In fact, he was a big benefactor to Four Lads for Liverpool. He says, I know this is your dream. In fact, I have a poster from the first concert that the Beatles did. It's hanging in my studio, and it's one of the things Brian Epstein told Tommy. He says, "When we play America, you'll open for us."
How about that?
And he kept his promise. So Tommy says, he started opening. He was the opening act for the Beatles for the rest of the show. And in fact, he wrote a hit, Everybody, on John Lennon's guitar on the bus. He borrowed his guitar, so that's a little bit of a trivia. So Tommy comes back to America in that summer, and this is the Atlanta connection. He plays the demo tape of the Beatles for Bill Lowry. He says, "Oh, they'll never make it in America. Look at that! Look at that hair. That's crazy."
Yeah, like my grandfather did.
So that was a dead end. He went to ABC Records. They said, "No way." And the biggest one is Tommy used to record in Muscle Shoals.
I was just thinking. Rick Hall.
And so Tommy took the demo tape to Muscle Shoals, to Rick Hall, and all those session players over there. And he says, "Man, the kids are going nuts for this band in England. We need to do something with them." And they said, "They're horrible. They're out of tune. They're loud. This will never make it." No. And so Tommy just shook his head. Well, Tommy went to a record producer I used to work for named Steve Clark. I don't know if you ever heard of Steve Clark, but Steve was head of VJ Records.
Oh, okay.
This is summer of '63. See how much nerd stuff I got?
This is awesome.
You can edit some of this out if you need to.
Yeah.
But because of Steve Clark in Atlanta and Tommy Rowe, the Beatles were released summer of '63 on VJ Records.
I'll be darned.
And it bombed.
So if you've got a copy of one of those records,
well, now,
it would have to
after it hit in '64, they still own the records, and the VJ Records sold. They also had a subsidiary called Swan. They released. I
had a few Swan 45s.
Yeah. Right. Well, that was VJ Records. That was out of Chicago.
Okay.
Steve Clark, to quote him, "I used to be important." Anyway, we could do a whole show on Steve Clark. But anyway, these are the people I worked with, and these were my friends, and Tommy signed my poster. He says, "To my bud and biggest Beatle fan," not to a Tommy Rowe fan. He knows how much I love the Beatles.
That's fantastic.
But so Tommy went back to the Muscle Shoals guys and said, "Hey, do you remember that British band that you said is horrible?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, we've been offered to warm them up. Do you want to be my band?" And he says, "You get to be the band for everybody else." "Well, who else is playing?" And they said, "Well, the Righteous Brothers." "The Righteous Brothers?" "I'm in." "How much does it pay?" Do you know? You remember Norbert Putnam?
I
worked with him.
You did?
Yeah. And Norbert Putman was the bass player. He was also the producer of Jimmy Buffett. He and David Briggs owned Quadraphonic Studio here. Norbert Putman, you ought to read his book. It's fascinating.
I'm gonna have to get
so
it.
anyway, they were the band to back up Tommy and all the other bands. And the Beatles were so excited that they were coming. And here's the reason the Beatles were excited that band was coming. They were the band in Muscle Shoals behind Arthur Alexander, who did Anna, You Better Move On, and all these big Muscle Shoals hits that the Beatles and the Stones, they all loved that music.
Yeah.
So they got invitations.
Covered some of it, right?
Yeah. So Norbert said in his book, they got invitations to go to their party, and they threw them away.
They threw the tickets away.
And then they get to the gig, and then, of course, it's Beatlemania. And if you see the video from the Washington show, February 11th, you can see drums and everything. They couldn't get their equipment off the stage. So that band, Norbert Punt and all those guys, got front row seats to Beatlemania. Crazy. And they learned their lesson. Years later, George Harrison says, John idolized you guys because the Beatles covered Anna, and they did. He said they wanted to meet. We were so hurt you didn't come to our party afterwards. And he said, we didn't know. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's all true. This is the kind of trivia but anyway.
I love this kind of stuff. I really do.
Okay, well, then we get up, and of course, sadly, Kennedy is assassinated.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid.
I do too.
It was a funk of that whole holiday season.
It really was.
And,
it was terrible.
And then I Want to Hold Your Hand and the Ed Sullivan Show and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
It just seemed like it turned it around. So that's that's trivia that we wrote songs about. We actually wrote a song, It's a Really Big Show in New York City. We're not playing that one. But
we're going to play one that you sang right now.
Yeah, well, then after they left the Ed Sullivan Show, they weren't even in America 2 weeks. The first thing they did is they went back to England to film Hard Day's Night. Yeah. I mean, they said, okay, they're a phenomenon. And one of the things that a lot of people go, why was A Hard Day's Night in black and white?
Yeah, good question.
Well, it's because the powers that be thought they were a flash in the pan and be dead by October, so they didn't want to
waste the money.
They didn't want to waste the money on color film, so they made him do it with They made the director do it with black and white with handheld cameras.
Oh gosh!
Which turned out to be an artistic plus.
The Beatles.
And so, but when it came to the next movie, which was going to be called 8 Arms to Hold You, they said, well, we got money for color this time.
All of a sudden, bam.
And the Beatles said, we want to go fun places. So write in the script that we go to the Swiss Alps and that we go to
That's right.
We go to the Bahamas. Because on your nickel, we want to have fun, since you didn't trust us the first time.
I could just see the picture on the front of the album with the skis and and they're doing. Yeah.
So the biggest thing is John Lennon at a concert says we've made 2 films, one in black and white and one in color. This is the one from the colored one. It's called Help.
It's called Help.
And so we wrote a song about them making movies called Let's Go Make Some Movies.
Here it is on the Songwriter Connection. This is Mike singing this.
Let's go make some movies, one in color, one in black and white. Captured memories for the fans to help get through a hard day's night. Whoa. It was a day in the life of Beatlemania. Rain Studios and doing a show. Along the way, they were always losing Grandpa. One rockin' show, many more to go. Let's go make some movies, one in color, one in black and white. Captured memories for the fans to help get through a hard day's night. Whoa. The sacrificial ring was stuck on Ringo's finger. From London, Swiss
Sorry, I'm talking so much.
Oh, that's okay.
You guys
One of the
okay with
things.
this?
Yes.
One of the things about that song was when he was just talking about they wanted to go to the Alps and the Bahamas and all of that stuff. He was telling me all of that stuff when we were writing, and I'd say, "I'm pulling that out and that out.
Oh.
That's going to be a good lyric. That's going to work." What? And he'd say, "Well, what's going to work as a hook?" And I said, "Well, they're going to they're making movies. Let's get the title somewhere from that."
Wow.
The other thing that happened in every one of the songs that we worked on was Mike. He's a great keyboard player, and he knows not only Beatle, the British kind of feel for records, I would call it, more
Which you've
more
used
than
a
just
lot
the
through
Beatles.
this
And we kind of wove that's in, so it fits what we're singing about. But when he would play chords, I'd say, no, go back to that one. and we're trying to write a melody, and he's moving the chords around because he's trying to show me, well, these are the kind of chords they used back then. Yeah. And so he'd start playing, and I'd say, well, go back to that other chord where we were so we could write this.
It.
And then that's how we got melodies and worked the lyrics in. Because sometimes we'd have an awkward line, and I'd say, well, we're going to make it work. Move a chord somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. You got to play with that.
Yeah. So it was that's a lot of fun.
Oh.
Well, just to tell you the nerdiness that we did in the writing of that song.
I love the nerdiness. That's my favorite part.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's software now where you can separate everything.
You can, yeah.
And of course, if you're too lazy to do that, you can go to YouTube's, So we found the drum part to Hard Day's Night.
Oh, did you?
On YouTube. And so we knew we had the same tempo and the same feel because we wrote Let's Go Make Some Movies to the drum part of A Hard Day's Night. So the same seconds, but just different chords. Yep. One of the biggest Beatle nerdy things is what is that opening Hard Day's?
I was just going to ask you. The opening note, the chord.
Well, it's a D on the bass with Paul.
D on the bass.
It's a G suspended with the piano with George Martin.
Uh-huh.
George is playing a Rickenbacker 12 string with an F with a G on the top and a G on the bottom. And John is playing his acoustic Gibson electric. He's playing a G suspended. So you put all of that together, it's clang.
Yeah.
There it is.
Who is the genius that said that's all going to work?
Yeah.
I mean, really.
But the intricacies of that is what makes that magical. I mean, how many one chord openings and you go, that's a Hard Day Night.
Hard Day Night. Yeah.
So what did we do?
Unmistakable.
I just did a D minor 7 because you can't own. It would have really been cheesy. I could have stole the chord, but I'm not going to do.
It still sounds.
But
phenomenal.
I mean, when you clang a D minor 7. Because they made it famous, it's okay, and it's original, and then the tempo. And Donna, I don't know. She always says, "I like that song."
That's my favorite.
Oh yeah,
one of my favorites.
And
they're all great, but that's one of my favorites.
These are two of the best singers in the world, as far as I'm concerned, and they like the song I sing.
Donna. Yeah,
yeah, we love it.
That's
we love
great.
it.
Now, my nephew Paul, he studied live sound at Blackbird Studio and lived with us for a while. Today, he's an engineer at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
In Cleveland, which is so cool. And we came, it was April before last, we came up and visited. And he said, Uncle Dave, come on, you could come and see the Rock Hall of Fame. And it had been years since I'd been there. And they had this Beatle exhibit going on. In this round room, they were playing the rooftop concert. And so it was in the day, and I was in there, and my allergies were killing me, guys. And what happens with me is like somebody turns on a faucet, and my eyes just start watering. And so that was happening, and I'm watching this concert again. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm just sitting there watching it and just taking it all in. And there's a older lady just down the way that entered the room, and she came up to me and she puts her arm around me and she goes, I know how you feel.
I thouth you were going to say she handed you a tissue.
Yeah, me too.
Put her arm around. She felt so bad. And I go, yeah, I'm having one of those moments. John's gone.
So tell the truth, you ate it up, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I sure did. Got a nice hug out of it. So, I mentioned this because you have this story now called "Get Back to the Rooftop." So, does it have to do with that song, that concert?
Well, that's pretty obvious. Isn't it?
Pretty obvious.
After they did the White Album, the White Album was getting back to being a rock and roll band again. All the stuff prior to that, Sgt. Pepper.
But you know what I noticed about the White, and I love the White Album, but it always seemed like One side was a John side, one side was it seemed like they really showed their individuality off on that album.
Right. They went to India and they all wrote their own thing.
Yeah.
Paul did his acoustic stuff, Blackbird.
Yeah, Blackbird.
George really became the writer he was. John wrote just some amazing. I mean, it's just if you don't like, the only thing a lot of people don't like Revolution Number 9, but it was a lot of great experimentation. But
it was. Yeah.
But Paul says, let's go back to being the band we were in Germany and in the Cavern. Let's just be a 4-piece band and make a record like that. And that's what the Get Back sessions were all about.
Oh, that was great.
And, Paul was always, Ringo says he's the workaholic. John and I are on vacation, and he's always the one going back to work, But,
well, and the key to that whole thing, and even for us when we wrote it, we talked about it, Billy Preston.
Oh, yeah.
Was the key to making those sessions really
and it really came out in that Get Back movie.
Right. Yeah. You could see that in the movie is that they had known Billy from Germany and playing with Ray Charles. There's actually some videos of Billy doing amazing stuff with Ray Charles. He was just what a talented. In fact, Gary Talley used to play with Billy, so we got a lot of Beatle connections. But it's end of the day. Even in the movie, in the Let It Be movie, which now we've proved with the Get Back documentary, that it wasn't a horrible time, but it was a rough time. George quit the band.
Yeah.
Paul wanted to go to somewhere, I don't remember, where there was an amphitheater and have a big concert. And they just finally says, let's just go on the roof. Can't be bothered with traveling and all stuff. And they prepared, they took those 30 days in January of 1969 to prepare to go up on the roof. And they were having conflict and discourse and, and it seemed like they weren't getting anywhere. One of the things I loved about it was Paul over there constantly hitting his bass. Na, 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 na. No. He was writing Get Back over and over again on his bass. Inspired us. We wrote most of these songs with the bass, no guitars, just bass.
No kidding.
Yeah, most of them.
Because I can hear the chords, but I want that driving bass line. So
we were on the boat and you had that little amp and you'd hook up your bass and he'd say, well, this is kind of like the feel of what I'm going to play, like we could go to something. And we were making up melodies and everything off of what his bass part was.
Just bass.
And writing lyrics.
Isn't that something?
We have little tapes of it, and it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, we got it all. Thank goodness for phones. You got everything.
Exactly. Yeah. I just want to say for folks listening, there's like an interesting writing prompt for you. Try to write a song on the bass. There's my challenge to you. Take out a bass and write a song.
It's like the feel of the bass of what he was playing and what he was saying. Look, we can't do this because that'd be like the Beatles song. Yeah. So, but I am going to play this. And he'd be playing part of something, and I'd go, whoa, that needs to be like, get back, get back, get back. Let's do the get back to the rooftop, the way it was in the old days. And we started writing this, throwing lyrics out, saying, well, where's that going to fit? And he'd play a bass part.
Wow.
And he'd say, well, let's go to this. And I wouldn't even know what chord he was going to.
That's so awesome.
You can edit this out, but here you go. This is the very first day on the boat.
Love it.
Try it again.
There you go.
John, George, and Pete.
History
was not complete.
Wow.
Writing the theme song.
We're not editing this out at all. That's fantastic.
Anyway.
But we are going to hear the song. Go ahead.
But I'm just saying, and I'll tell you who taught me this. I used to do a lot of sessions with Stax Band. William Bell and Eddie Floyd are all dear friends.
Wow.
And Eddie used to come to my studio, and Eddie can't play anything. But he can sing a bass. He's got a great bass voice. So he used to take a boombox and smack the side of it and sing the bass part.
Oh, wow.
And then he'd sing a vocal over top of that. So I remember him going, I said, that's how I wrote Knock on Wood with Cropper. I would go, doom, he just sang the bass line.
Right, that's kind of what we were doing.
So I thought, well, hell, if it worked for Eddie, it'll work for us.
Work for us.
Yeah, here's the bass part, and here's kind of the intro I'm thinking about.
I don't have to think of the real chords yet. I could just get the bass line right.
Yeah, oh, cool.
But anyway, getting back on the roof. The thing was the hit from this. rooftop sessions was Get Back.
Okay, yeah.
And, of course, they wanted to get back to the rooftop. They wanted to play live one more time, which was the rooftop concert. Awesome. And that made the Let It Be album. But they shelved it, you know. Yeah. That's why it was the last album. But it was recorded in 1969, but then that fall, when the disaster of the Get Back sessions, Paul called George and he says, let's record an album the way we used to, you producing. And he says, as long as you guys will do what I tell you to do. And that became the Abbey Road album, and that was the end. Yeah. But the thing that really did bring about the magic of the Let It Be album and the Get Back sessions is they all behaved better when Billy was in the room. And there was this new instrument called a Fender Rhodes piano.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so they brought one in, and they brought in an organ and a Leslie. And Billy was the man to play it. So that's why Let It Be's got it. And Get Back has all those great sounds. I remember as a kid going, what is that keyboard?
Yeah.
What is that?
Hey, I'm sure there were people back then that heard them on the rooftop, saw Billy Preston in the band and listened to that and thought maybe that's what they were going to do from then on. Yeah. Just go out and play like that and have the keyboard player. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, it didn't. Well, they broke up shortly after.
Yeah.
But if you remember the singles, they and this is amazing, the Beatles with Billy Preston.
Yeah.
They gave him credit. They loved him so much. Right. And what an amazing keyboard player. I mean, the piano licks on Don't Let Me Down and I'm getting chills here already just thinking about it.
Well, let's play this song. Let's play this Back to the Rooftop.
Okay, this features our singer Brad Sample.
Okay.
Brad, edit this out if you want, but this is interesting. I'm sitting on a plane going to a
I'm editing nothing. This is all fascinating.
Well, it triggers ideas that I thought maybe people find interesting. So I'm sitting on the plane going to a Box Tops gig. And our friend says, hey, did you see The Voice last night? There was this kid on there from Nashville, and he did the letter by the Box Tops.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's on YouTube. You ought to go listen to it. And we went, Jana.
Yeah.
and I thought, so I'm sitting there on the plane, and I go, Brad Sample, the letter, Box Tops. And I played it, and I went, well, that can't hurt us. That's a little bit of PR, even though it was the Joe Cocker version. But that shows you what The Voice know. They put Box Tops version, which that's all that matters. Wow. So go to YouTube, you'll see what I mean. Right. And so I thought, Brad Sample. So I'm a Facebook snoop. So I go to Facebook.
Stalked him a bit.
Yeah, Brad Sample Nashville.
Wow.
So I search it. And I'm sitting there on the plane, and I sent him an IM. I said, hey, this is Mike Stewart. I'm keyboard player with the Box Tops. I really appreciate you playing the letter on The Voice last night. I wish you all the success. Hey, since you're in Nashville, I've learned something in Nashville. Offer to buy a free lunch.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, it works every time.
Yeah.
And I said, when you're back home, I'd love to buy you lunch, just get to know you better. I thought, I'll never hear from him again. 30 seconds later, man, I'm a fan of the Box Tops, man. I can't believe you. Oh, that's great, man. Yes, I'd love to go have lunch. And we became friends. And then I thought, we've got beautiful female vocal.
Yes.
We've got seasoned, amazing vocal. We got me.
Oh, my God.
And now
we got a young, credible. I mean, when I heard him on The Voice, he was. I love his voice. So I just wanted to tell you that's how Brad Sample became one of the Four Lads from Liverpool. Became one of the 10 Matthew
Street
bands.
What I love is he fell in love with it.
Yeah.
He said, we went to lunch with him, and he said, well, what songs am I going to be able to sing? And so we started picking out the ones that we thought. We had another demo singer on the originals. We started using some of those, and a couple I think that Mike sang, we gave to him because we wanted him to feel as included as we are.
Now, is he going to be with you on the show?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, and he plays really good guitar.
We tried to go Pat, Donna, Mike, Brad, Pat, Donna, Mike, Brad. So if you don't like my voice, you got 3 slots to get away from it.
There you go.
It sounds great.
No,
everything's great.
I'm so proud of what we've got put together here, and I hope it shows.
Yeah, it sure does. Well, let's spin it right now, and we'll come back.
Okay.
Getting back to the rooftop. were so uncomfortable. Twickenham, tensions rising, no compromising. To win the band was possible. Getting back to the rooftop, the way we played it in the old days. Two guitars, bass and drums, and the keys that Brother Billy would play. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Apple basement, makeshift studio, songs began to flow. Billy Preston made it magical. Apple basement, working on the live show, still not sure where to go. 5 stories up, historic hall. Getting back to the rooftop, the way we played it in the old days. Two guitars, bass and drums, and the keys that Brother Billy would play. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Ooh. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop. Getting back, getting back, getting back to the rooftop.
Another song from Four Lads from Liverpool, which is a great show. August 14th, there are still some tickets available.
Just a few. Hopefully they're selling fast.
Franklin Theater.
We want to sell that.
Yeah. So I've got some. I'm just going to throw some stuff out. I'm going to ask some questions. Okay.
Okay.
So if you had to pick your favorite Beatles album, Mike, what would it be?
Hey Jude.
Hey Jude.
Yep.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
The fact that I love the melody.
Uh-huh.
I'm a piano player. I love the sound of that piano.
Yeah.
The high F that he sings on Better, 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 Better. That one I can't do, but he couldn't in the day.
Yeah.
And some of that ad lib at the end just
It was incredible.
gives me.
I remember listening to it. I was a kid growing up in Cleveland. I can't remember the station. I want to say it was G or it could have been Wixie 1260. And the jock played it like 7 times in a row, just back to back. Oh, the new Beatles! It was just.
Well, if you think about it, when I was a kid, you couldn't get a song on the radio more than 3 minutes or 3.5.
Oh, and it was how long?
Seven
minutes.
some plus.
Yeah.
I like the fact it was 2 Beatles songs in one. It was Hey Jude and Na Na.
That's right. That's right. How about you, Pat? You have a favorite album? Beatles album?
No, I would say Hey Jude was
Hey
good
Jude?
because I was really listening to that stuff then.
Man.
But I was into a whole lot of other people to listen to when I was trying to write as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sam and Dave.
Yeah.
I grew up Pittsburgh. I grew up on R&B music, you know, all of the stuff around. And then I started getting into the Bee Gees and Bread.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
You
yeah.
know, David Gase, I thought, was one of the
amazing.
most incredible writers
Amazing.
in the world.
Yeah. Great
And when I went to L.A. to work and lived out there for quite a while, I stayed with Al DeLore, who was the producer, him and his wife and kids. I lived with them.
Wow.
And the neighbor was David Gates.
Oh, no
He was
kidding.
on the same street. So I got to meet him twice. We didn't have big conversations, but, when you kind of look at you don't know what to say sometimes.
Yeah. No,
and
I-
yet you want to write like that.
Yeah. I get it.
But I love the Beatles. In fact, This Boy, remember the song This Boy?
I do.
That was the first song I ever sang at a school dance.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, I learned it out of the book that they had, a Beatle book. And I did that at a school dance that we played at.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Don, I'm going to ask you the same question.
All right.
Favorite Beatle?
Well, I'm a little bit younger than these two guys. Not a whole lot, by a whole lot. But I remember more of the later songs of the Beatles. But like Mike, I love Hey Jude and I love Let It Be.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I remember first hearing that song. I thought it was the most beautiful melody.
Yes.
Let It Be is incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible melody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember as a kid going to the record shop with my dad. And he said, you can pick the record that we buy. And I wanted the Beatles. And Dad wanted the Righteous Brothers. Guess who won? But I loved that Righteous Brothers record. And then later on, I saved up my money and I would buy Beatle records. And I also remember my babysitter would always bring her Beatles records over. And my favorite toy as a kid was my little record player.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it really was. I mean, I remember going to the store and Mom said, okay, you guys have been good. You can pick out a toy. And I'd say, can I get a new needle for my record player?
Yeah, needles wearing out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my grandfather used to get all those old records from the jukeboxes, the kind with the marks on it that would keep track of it. And he would just bring me boxes of them.
Oh,
and I
wow.
would sit for hours and just go, ooh, ooh. So I was, and it was a little bit of every genre you could think of.
I was doing the same thing, except
Were you?
I was singing along with them.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be able to sing those songs.
Yeah.
The Righteous Brothers and everybody else that I would play. Wow. That was the thing. We had a little cubby hole in our bedroom upstairs. And I'd move over in that little cubby hole, and I had the record player right there.
Yeah.
And I'd turn it on. We had a window there, and I was acting like I was singing out to the world, along with the records.
Absolutely.
Just one after another, we'd play them.
Now, my wife wanted me to definitely mention this, Patty. When she was a kid, her mom was going to the store, and she said, Mom, would you buy me a Beatles record? And so she came home, and she gave the record to Patty, and it was a band called the Bugs. I looked them up. They really were. There were all these fake Beatles because they were big. Let's have the Bugs, and they had a couple of records, and Patty had one of them.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny. That's funny.
Isn't that hilarious? The Bugs.
The Bugs.
Yeah. And during COVID for me, I always had thousands of records because I saved them all when I was a kid. And when we moved to Cincinnati, I didn't even have a turntable. When we moved from Cincinnati here, I didn't even have a turntable anymore. And I had thousands of records and nowhere to play them. And moving into this house, which it's beautiful, one thing it lacks is storage. And I didn't know what I was going to do with all of my records. And I'm talking 5,000 albums at least, probably 10,000 45s. Wow. And I made the heartbreaking decision to sell it all. And I remember there was a kid opening a vinyl shop on the north sides of Cincinnati. So vinyl was just starting to come back in, right? And I love it today. So I sold them all to him because he was very knowledgeable. He started looking through my Peaches crates, I had them all crated, and he go, "You're from Cleveland, right?" I go, "How do you know that?" He goes, "Well, this is Michael Stanley. He's from Cleveland. This is Peruba. They're from Cleveland. There's Tin Huey. They're from Cleveland." I'm going, "Dude, you're a genius." So I decided to sell it to him. Good guy, and I hope you made money on all of them guys. But as soon as COVID came around, we got those checks. I said to Patty, I said, I really would like to have a nice vinyl stereo again. Would that be okay? And that's what we did. And then, of course, I've been trying to buy all my vinyl. It's impossible. But the first thing I did was buy every Beatles record I could find. So I got a really good collection of Beatles records now.
Nothing like hearing them with the needle.
Needle drops. It's
nothing like it.
That's it. Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
I remember I was having a hard time finding Yellow Submarine, and I really wanted Bulldog, And I went into this used record store in Ohio, and I said, I've been looking. Do you have a Yellow Submarine record? And she goes, actually, we just got one in. And she went and she got it, and she was not really good shape. I said, I don't care. I want it. Give me it. So you hear the pops and the scratches, and that's okay. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. So, yeah. It has been fascinating talking to you guys. Thank you so much for coming over on a Sunday to sit down with us and tell us your story. And I just wish you the best success. I hope it ends up on Broadway. This show is needed to be done.
Yes.
And
Our dream is to go around and do all of the theaters that are around, like the Franklin Theater.
Yeah.
They're just wonderful.
Yeah. They really are.
And they're everywhere.
Yeah. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Maybe even at the Ryman or something someday.
Oh, that'd be awesome too.
But we have to end with the end. Right?
Okay.
So, Mike, let's get back to the end.
All right. Well,
And in the end.
you know, when they did the Abbey Road album, you know, it was just, you know, as a kid, I remember getting it was the John and George side. George really became the songwriter with Something, and Here Comes the Sun. I mean, just masterpieces. And then, of course, the medley on it. And the very last song on the very last side was called The End. You know, how appropriate. You know, and I kept thinking, is it the end of the Beatles? Well, yes, but it wasn't an end of the music.
Right.
So we wrote Abbey Road, similar sounding music, strings, pianos, drum break, guitar swap, big vocals. In fact, the last note is a piano hit that rings forever.
Yeah,
you know, where's that from?
Right to the end.
Right. To the end.
Yeah.
And so the Abbey Road was at the end.
Well, we had been discussing this earlier, and I went over to his house and sat on the front porch. I'll never forget this. And I told Mike, I said, you know, you've been talking about the end of this, trying to write kind of a finale song. And I said, you know, John found imagination and Paul found his wings, and I started speaking these things right out. And Mike looked at me and he had the keyboard. He had the keyboard right there playing on the porch, and we started writing. Paul, you know, John found imagination. Paul found his wings, and then we started writing the rest of it. And we looked at each other and went, "This is going to be the finale song." Wow. And then he told me about in the studio they did the jam back and forth with the guitars.
They went. If you listen to the end solo, it was Paul, George, John. They each did 4 bars.
Yeah,
and you can tell the difference. You know, Paul is not the guitarist George was at the time, and John was the one who went. You know, he kind of just. He wasn't the lead guitarist Paul or George was, but it doesn't matter. It's just the magic of them trading off. And they said Jeff Emmerich said they did that in one take.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
I maybe, so if somebody knows that I'm wrong on that, I'll stand corrected. But if I'm not mistaken, they may have rehearsed it a little bit. Yeah. But the take was like they didn't punch in anything. They just played it because it was 3 amps, 3 guitar players, and the rhythm track just overdub on it.
So in the song, we decided to do the big drum thing,
you know,
and then but ours is different than that, of course. But then we went into guitars breaking out like that to make this thing really end big, and it really turned out great.
That's awesome.
All right, well, you can edit this out, but this was the day on the porch. It was raining.
Abbey Road, was it the of all the music?
We're just trying to write it.
See, I love stuff like this.
Oh no,
Thunder.
They all found new direction.
See, and now it's a little different than that, but that was it was spontaneous. Where I had this thing about John had imagination after this. Paul had the wings, you know, and then
George said all things must pass.
Things must pass. And then we thought, well, what Ringo do? He had a beat to a different drum. You know?
He sure did, didn't he?
You know, and
that's perfect.
Yeah.
And we went.
So it wasn't the end. It was the end of the Beatles, but they had more hits as solo artists than they had as Beatles.
Is that true?
Collectively.
No kidding.
Well, Paul to this day. I mean, Wings had so many hits. And Ringo's had a lot of hits.
He really has.
And George had a lot of hits.
I saw Ringo at the Ryman with the All-Star Band a couple years ago.
Oh, I did. I saw him at the Opry, and he was... That was an amazing show.
Amazing show.
In fact, the Sons of the Pioneers played Ringo. the old Lorne Green thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's
funny.
I thought that was
So
great.
awesome.
It was a great show.
Great.
Listen, guys, I want to thank you for coming.
thank
Donna,
you.
So good to see
Thank
you.
you
And
so
Pat,
much.
Thank you.
Mike, we've made some new friends here today.
We'll
And-
see you down the road here for sure.
Absolutely. And we're going to end with the end. Once again, promo of the show. It's Franklin Theater, August 14th. Okay?
Four Lads from Liverpool.
Four Lads. Don't
And
miss this show.
maybe coming to your town someday soon.
I hope so. Here we go.
Thanks.
Abbey Road, was it the end of all the music? Oh no, they all found a new direction. John found imagination. Paul found his wings. George knew all things must pass. Ringo felt the beat of a different drum. Abbey Road, Abbey Road, was it the end? Abbey Road, Abbey Road, we will remember. Abbey Road, no way the music's ending. Abbey Road, it's just a new beginning.
That's great.
We hope you enjoyed this intimate glimpse into the world of songwriting and found inspiration in the stories shared by our talented guests. Remember, the magic of music lies not only in the notes and chords, but in the emotions and experiences woven into every lyric. Until next time, keep listening, keep creating, and keep the melodies alive.